Hello, welcome to this week's tarot reading, Liminal Tarot, of the week of April 2nd through 8th, 2023. And I should note that my channel is called Liminal Tarot because my business used to be called Liminal Reiki. It's now called Transition Life Coaching, as that's a bit more on target for what I actually help people do with tarot, astrology, Reiki therapy, and a whole host of other tools of a similar nature that I use to help people figure out where they're at. So just thought that was worth mentioning as I get questions about that occasionally. This week's reading, okay, we're going to look at, we've got the Egyptian Tarot here. We've got Osho Zen Tarot. I use the Avebury Oracle and the Dark Goddess Oracle. We have the, Wisdom of the Tao, okay, Antarian Oracle, which is mine, Essential Oil Oracle, Moonology, and our Norse Rune. Okay, so where do we begin? With tarot, okay, we're seeing there's a little bit of a, as always with these cards, and I always like to use multiple decks because it does a lot of cross-validation for me. There's definitely a sense of, there's a sense of loss that we're seeing this week, okay? So there's a sense that something has gone away, perhaps something that we've been attached to. But whatever this is making room for something a bit more authentic. So let's start at the beginning here. So first we have, so I have the Four of Cups, we have the Judgment card, and then we also have the Moon. So what the message that we're seeing here, this is a message of dissatisfaction. Four of Cups comes up when we had something in front of us and, we're not really looking at it. We're more looking at the negatives than we are at, what you might call the positives, what we actually have. And this, so sometimes there's a sense of victimhood with this card. Sometimes there's a sense of boredom. But there's generally a sense that things are better than what we think they are. We're just not necessarily looking at it from the right perspective, or only looking at it from a perspective of lack. Judgment suggests that there have been things that we have had to reevaluate and some things that we've had to get rid of. So this, this is pretty normal. This happens. We can't, you can't keep, it's the same reason, we're in the beginning of spring, it's the same reason you do a spring clean out, right? You get rid of stuff that maybe was useful to you once. Now it's maybe you say, I don't need this anymore. And potentially you're making room for new stuff. And in fact, usually you are making room for new stuff. So this has been a time of having to make some decisions, some things. So we don't always want to make those decisions, but typically if it's the right time to get rid of something and we don't get rid of it, something happens that ends up either taking it away from us or just some kind of crisis that draws our attention to the fact that we need to get rid of it. And with the Moon over here, the Moon has to do with, it has to do with an unclear path forward, because sometimes we have a difficult time telling the difference between what's our intuition and what is, what's just our mind either overplaying things or, sometimes our own self-deceptions or illusions. I mean, the Moon has to do with trying to sort those things out. And we see some other cards in here that we'll talk about that cover that same idea. But, but there's just this idea that I think there's this feeling of dissatisfaction because we're moving into the realm of the unfamiliar. We may have emptied ourselves and cleared out, and we don't have a clear picture yet of what's going to happen going forward with a lot of things. But that's okay. I mean, one of the things that we need to learn to live with is the fact that, we don't have a certain outcome and a certain answer all the time. Sometimes this is a case of, we need to see, you need to see how things develop and where they're going to go. And if you allow yourself to take a risk and let go of something, oftentimes you find that some marvelous new thing takes its place. So, so there's definitely this vibe this week. And as I showed here before, we have the clinging to the past card. This is usually when we have a difficulty letting go of a past pattern. Now, I can tell you, I get this card for myself a lot. And, no matter how much work I do about cutting and clearing out and, it just seems that sometimes there's just certain things that are still very deeply felt or deeply within the body or deeply within the soul that, they could be traumas, they could be from this life, they could be from another life, whatever it is, they, our cognitive efforts to get rid of it don't always work. So I think I want to start by saying, don't beat yourself up if you have something that you really have a hard time letting go of, even though you say, well, I should. It's not, things don't just go all the way overnight just with an affirmation or a positive wish. Frequently, it still takes time for us to disentangle ourselves, in the same way that, if you break your leg, and I hope you don't, but if you break your leg and you go to the doctor and you have it set, that is the first step in healing. But the fact that your leg is set does not mean that you're healed. There's still more work to be done. Even acknowledging, oh, here's a problem and here's the thing I need to do to fix it. It still can take time to let go of things. But still, this may be something that is, standing in our way a bit at this point. So it's good to acknowledge that and to reevaluate that in terms of fresh information and fresh experience that we have. Now, interestingly, over here I have the Arachne card in the Dark Goddess Oracle, and he calls it the card of hubris. But what I find interesting about the meaning of this card is it says, don't let your ego override your heart. Make sure you're being the real you. And actually it literally says, show the world the real you. Like, be authentic. Don't get caught up in this false image or this false pride. Or who you think people want you to be. Be who you are. And over here at the Moonology, you have show the world the real you. So we're seeing this twice here. And with the full moon in Aquarius, there's a sense that we need to detach a little bit. We may still be too vested in outcomes, which is making us uneasy. But this literally means, no, you want to, you need to be true to yourself, even if you're not clear about what the outcome is. If you are on an authentic path, you will get to where you need to be. You don't need to worry about that. Even if you can't specifically see how that's going to happen at this point in time. So we're seeing this definite, we got these two cards that literally say, make sure you're showing the world the real you. Don't settle for something inauthentic at this point. Now we have the World of Hope card over here with the Wisdom of the Tao. And this is a very nice card because, again, there's this indication of loss, the kind of loss that we're seeing over here with Judgment, where we may have made some changes. And the World of Hope is telling us, yes, things have been lost, but this new start that you have, like, the worst is over. Okay, it literally means the worst is over, and there's a lot to be thankful for. I mean, it also gives us the vibes of this card, where we may only be looking at the loss that we've suffered and not at how much lies ahead of us. So, So this is a very, very positive omen that a lot of the changes that are happening now, especially changes if you've been true to yourself and true to where you want to go, that now it just seems like there's a world that's open to you. And we have the Starting Point card in the Antarian Oracle. Now, this card literally means that it's like, allow yourself to dream up all the possibilities without getting too caught up, and don't worry so much about your limitations right now. See, that seems to be our theme, don't get caught up in what it used to be or what you think might not work based on what happened in the past. You need to look at what, you're at the beginning of something. And so the sky's the limit. In time, what this card literally says is, in time, you will recognize, what's actually possible and what's not. For right now, you just want to dream big and consider all possibilities. Like I said, we're Pluto in Aquarius. It's time to be innovative and think about things differently, think outside the box. There may be opportunities that you have not considered. Now the Avebury Oracle, which I find myself using because I'll be there in probably about, roughly another month and a couple weeks. It'll be nice. This is the message here is self-love, completeness, peace, and self-love, exuding in a gentle and powerful presence. Yeah, so to me, that feels like that goes along with the ideas of self-doubt, of trying to, being too concerned perhaps about what others think, or being too concerned about a past situation. You need to worry about, you need to like the person that you are. In order to be authentic, you want to be comfortable with who you are. But, you may be stepping out of your comfort zone to some degree, to and so therefore, self-love is important, recognizing that, because you are your pivotal center point. If you worry too much about allowing others to define who you are, then you end up in this space where, you every time you try to start a new thing, you'll continually keep pulling back, because if you see anything that you sense as a disapproval, or as an unsurety, or if something comes up and it doesn't look exactly the way you think it should look, we may decide, oh no, see, I can't do that, I'm gonna fail, or I can't do that. And this card says no, believe in yourself, and love yourself. Because that, truthfully, when we talk about forgiveness and things like that, usually the person we have the hardest time forgiving is ourselves. We beat the living what out of ourselves over the way in which, the way we may have handled situations, and the way that we shame ourselves. It's pretty unbelievable. Well, I mean, it happens. I mean, intellectually we look at it and think, wow, that's unbelievable. But we all know, if you ever lay awake at night ruminating on all stuff you did in the past that you did think you shouldn't have done, then there's a need to forgive yourself and say, you know what, everybody screws up, and nobody is perfect, and I don't care who they are and how perfect they seem. Everybody has a thing that they have messed up, or are ashamed of, or embarrassed by, or regard as a failure. All of that goes into the mix, and all of it is part of you, and all of it's perfectly fine. So you want to think about that. Up here we have the Magnolia card, and our word here is amplify, and the trigger statement is, I can't get anything right, and the true statement is, I'm in divine time. Harness your loving energy and watch as one miracle unfolds after another. Yeah, so this is back to, again, I can't do anything right, thinking that, looking at limitation, looking maybe at the past, maybe way things didn't work out in the past, and saying, oh, I don't know if I can do this. But again, don't attach to that outcome. And like I said, you just trust in the process, and you'll see how things do unfold. And this is actually true. I mean, I have had situations where I'll do something and I'll think, yeah, but I don't know how I can't figure out how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And then all of a sudden the next day, for example, if I say, I don't know if I'm gonna have money to do this, and then the next day all of a sudden I get a notice that I'm getting a big check or something, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, there it is. I mean, things like that do happen, and they do happen often if you let go of outcomes and just allow things to happen. Finally, I want to look at our Norse rune here, which is Gibo or Gaifu, depending on how you translate it. Gibo, as you see, it's the big X. This is the rune of partnership. It's also the rune of gifts. So this, for those of you who are looking for love, this could promise, that there may be some kind of relationship ahead. It also can just be a partnership in look to others, to help you, to support you, and also seek to support others. I mean, this is about community, not about there's sort of a thing of, you're being your authentic self, but also you want to be sharing with others, and you want to be interacting with others and working with others, because that seems to be the key to you being able to, to achieve what it is that you want. Sometimes it may even be just a case of getting information from others, or reaching out if you are unsure about something. It also brings a gift. So, this often indicates that you could be in for some very pleasant surprises. Whether it be actually this week, or whether it's just simply something that's coming up soon, but I feel like has a lot to do with this world of hope, and the idea that actually things are very good, they're on track. Really what the only problem is our tendency to look at past situations and evaluate the present in terms of those past situations. But it really feels like the past is not going to have a whole lot of bearing on the future. Maybe in some ways it will, but you can't say, well, because I had this experience before, this is what the next experience is going to be. I feel like we're moving in towards a totally new thing. So focus on what it is that you have. Definitely don't second guess what it is you're trying to get rid of. And recognize that even though right now things are not clear, clarity will probably be coming soon. It'll be interesting to see what next week's reading brings, but it is definitely encouraging you to continue to be true to yourself. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening. See you next week.